So I want to cover agitation. That's a really common issue that families deal with. And so I want to set that up a little bit for you. This can happen throughout their day. It can be getting out of bed, it can be taking a shower, getting a meal, trying to get to the doctor's appointment with you guys. All kinds of things can set them off. And so, if you can share some of these tips with your patients, this will make their home life much easier, but it'll also work for you in the office because these agitations and aggressive behaviors can pop up with you just as easily. So, first of all, I would say keep in mind mood means everything. And I mean your mood, the family's mood. So make sure that you're keeping a calm voice because a lot of times when a situation is escalating or someone is out of control, we escalate and they can see that in our voice. They can hear it in our tone, how loud we are. They look at our body language. And a lot of people don't think that they can read all of this stuff, but they actually are much more in tune with our body language because of their cognitive decline. So make sure that you stay calm or that family members stay calm. And it's really important to try to preempt these situations because people will find that patterns and routines occur. So it's good for families to have a little journal or log and to watch for triggers. Don't just like, okay, we got through that situation, but really have them think about what caused that situation. And many, many times, if we pay attention to their five senses and ours, we can de-escalate things really quickly. So environment, it's important to think about what do they see and how are they feeling in that environment. Everything goes back to feelings because a lot of times as the disease progresses, they don't have the specifics of a situation, but something will remind them of a feeling and then they will repeat that feeling to try to protect themselves. Usually agitation is a lack of communication. They're unable or unaware of how to communicate with us, but they're telling us something is wrong and that they're not feeling safe. So little things like too much stimulation. So what are they seeing in their eyes? It could be change of lighting. It could be too bright. It could be too dark. It could be flashing lights or inconsistent lights, even like having the blinds open and the clouds go by and it's a bright sunny day and it gets dark can really cause paranoia. Is one of the things that they say. It could be sound. Can they hear us? Are there scary sounds? In a doctor's office or hospital, there can be beeping, there can be people running if there's an emergency. Voices could be too soft or tones that they can't hear. It's important when we're talking to them to look directly at them because they need to read our lips and our facial expressions. So that will help the situation immensely. It could be a smell, in an office or in a home. It could be some medical things that you're working with, chemical wise at a home. It could be a food that they don't no longer like, or it triggers a bad memory. Or maybe they got sick as a child and they're remembering those things. They can also be positive things, like maybe at a barbecue and can uplift their spirits. So these senses can work both ways. It could be a taste in their mouth, and taste could be from food, from drink. It could be from the air. Right now we're having fires, for example. A lot of people are saying that I live in Minnesota and we are far from the Canadian fires or even, in California when they've been in flames, but we still get that leftover essence in the air. And people talk about how they can not only smell it, but they can taste it. And that is, not comfortable. It could be touch. So we have to remember with their sight, they lose their peripheral vision many times. So their sight can become very narrow, or if they've had a stroke, their vision when they're looking straight ahead might be to the left or the right. And so even though they're looking straight at you, you're coming at them. If their vision is to the left or the right, that's the way you need to enter or you'll startle them. But coming up from the back is never a good idea and touching somebody. Um, it can cause a lot of fear with that. It could be temperature in a room, too hot, too cold. It could be specific people that trigger them where they don't feel comfortable. And in a clinical situation, it's really important for the patient to feel comfortable with their doctor or their provider, their nurse, who's ever assisting them. Because if they don't, they will still remember that and not want to come back. And that'll make it really difficult. So they could walk in to your appointment agitated because of that. I always tell people to approach, again, the person they're caring for from a feeling stance. So, how are we making them feel? Are we making them feel safe? Are we making their environment a happy one? And are they pain free? And a lot of times they can't communicate those things with us. So we have to look at their nonverbals and what are they saying. Another thing that can cause aggression, a lot of times caregivers like routines. People with dementia tell me all the time, routines are great. Just make sure they're ours because yours don't always fit our schedule and our pattern history. And so if you go with when they take a shower versus when you like to take a shower, can make a big difference in that whole grooming process. Um, have a reference list. Suggest that they have a reference list of the person's likes and dislikes and add to it daily. Just note that, oh, they really enjoyed this program or this type of music, or when so and so called or visited, or when they were out maybe plucking weeds in the yard, anything like that will be very helpful. And again, note those dislikes. If maybe it's a certain time of day, kind of that 4 o'clock-ish time when it's sundowning, and all of a sudden they, need to go get the babies off the bus or whatever it might be that they're going back in time for, so that you can preempt those things, have them engaged in something that will work to keep them occupied during those times. And then keep comforting things handy to distract. So that might be photos, it might be music, it might be a sports channel, it could be a favorite food or a hobby, or just knowing about special events and activities that they liked or continue to like to participate in. So those are just a few things that I think can help identify kind of the preemptive to some of these agitating situations, and then things that you can use to work around them. I hope you find that helpful.